Thank you for your interest in the Questionnaire Designer from Single Source Systems. The Questionnaire Designer is a module within the Single Source Productivity Tool product suite. The productivity tools are a collection of product extensions that enhance the user efficiency within the Acumatica ERP product. My name is Marty Rhodes, and I'll be your host in presenting an overview and demonstration of the Questionnaire Designer. In this presentation, we're going to start with a definition of a questionnaire. We will display an example to show the output and begin with the end in mind. And we'll step through the individual forms to explain how a questionnaire is actually created and used. The product you're going to see today is branded as the Questionnaire Designer, and it was created due to the need for companies that use punch lists, surveys, inspections, or any kind of checklist used to capture data and monitor outcomes. Now, we've branded these data collection forms generically as questionnaires. Most companies build these questionnaires manually using word processing tools or spreadsheets, and there are even dozens of form generation products on the market today that allow companies to build their questionnaires. But regardless of the tool used, most companies build these questionnaires outside of their ERP system, then store and circulate them as templates and individual documents. The problem presents itself when a new instance of a questionnaire is needed. A copy of the template is made and a document is produced. That document now becomes a static representation of the results that were collected. It's a document, not data. And because it's a document, the results it contains cannot easily be reported. Usually, the best option available to most ERP systems is to store that document as an attachment to the parent record in the database. But even with this option, the questions and responses are static representations of the document itself. With the Questionnaire Designer, we have digital versions of the templates. Store the results as data and allow the data to be reported either as an individual report or as an aggregated report using the generic inquiry feature of Acumatica. This provides for a single source of truth because the integrity between the questionnaire template, the results, and the transactional document or record for which it's associated is all maintained as data in Acumatica. The Questionnaire Designer also supports the Acumatica eSign feature if a use case requires sign-off on the document. The value provided by the Questionnaire Designer is that it improves the administrative efficiency when creating and maintaining those questionnaires. But more importantly, it provides the ability to report on the outcomes. Now, before we get into a live demo, let's take a look at the different document types supported by the Questionnaire Designer and how a questionnaire template is constructed. Here is a list of document types within Acumatica supported by the Questionnaire Designer. The Questionnaire Designer can be leveraged for many different business requirements. A questionnaire could be assigned to a case and lead a call center rep through the triage of a new customer issue. Recruiting and hiring checklists can be assigned to an employee record as a means to track and monitor the onboarding of a new employee. Inspections, surveys, and punch lists can be created and responses captured for appointments, service orders, and projects. Checklists can be used for inbound quality inspections during receiving and stored on the PO receipt document. The different use cases are almost limitless. So now let's take a look at the structure of a questionnaire and its output. A questionnaire begins as a template that contains a list of questions and also defines the results to be captured. Once captured, the results are stored in the database and can also be output to a PDF file or accessed using a generic inquiry. In this example, we have two screenshots. On the left side, we're looking at the questionnaire template created to perform an inspection for a UPS battery backup. In this screenshot, the step column represents each individual question that we want to capture. Now we have the ability to group and sequence these questions, and the response is captured using a specific data type. You can make a question required, allow a comment to be added, or even default a value for the response. Threshold values can be defined using min and max. Warnings can be presented to the user upon data capture if these min-max values are exceeded. Pass and fail thresholds can also be specified to reflect green or red values on the output report. You have the ability to skip a question for a particular questionnaire if you want. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we have an example of the hard copy report or the PDF file that can be rendered from the results once captured. The document has a header section in which user-definable and data elements from Acumatica can be embedded in the document using a standard insert data field feature. Now this example shows the out-of-the-box functionality for a service order, where it displays the service order number, description, account name, and service order status in the header. All of this can be customized by the user. The result output is also user-defined and can be displayed in 1, 2, or 3 column formats. You can associate multiple questionnaires with a single transaction document. Here's an example of a service order with 3 or more different types of questionnaires that might be attached. You might have multiple pieces of equipment on a single service order for which you want to inspect. You can capture these inspection or repair results for each of these different pieces of equipment on a different inspection questionnaire. In addition, while on site, you might want to perform a site assessment and document a punch list of tasks that need to be performed. And finally, after the on-site visit has been performed, customer service might interview the customer and capture their satisfaction levels before closing out the service order. All of these questionnaires can be associated to a single service order and are examples of the various applications of the Questionnaire Designer. Hopefully we've been able to demonstrate that with the Questionnaire Designer, we've simplified the management of questionnaire templates, the document associations, and the captured results. And it's all stored as data in Acumatica. The value provided by the Questionnaire Designer is that it improves the administrative efficiency when creating and maintaining these questionnaires. But more importantly, it provides the ability to report on the outcomes. I am in Acumatica and I'm currently on the questionnaire template form. Here we have a sample collection of the types of questionnaires that can be developed using the designer. Now, each questionnaire has a direct correlation and association with a specific document type in Acumatica. Here we see a customer satisfaction questionnaire that's associated to a service order. We have an employee onboarding checklist related to an employee record. We've got an HVAC preventive maintenance checklist that's also for a service order. And another sampling would be a site survey for a project document. Now, we're going to use the HVAC checklist for this demo. Before we get started building a questionnaire, we're going to begin with the end in mind. I've already rendered a copy of a blank template that was designed using the designer, and we'll use this to explain what the output will look like for a questionnaire. If I click the preview button, it will render a version of this template, and this is what it might look like. Most companies might store this blank version of a form using Word or Excel, and then make a copy of this template, have it completed by the person assigned, and then store it as a unique document somewhere on a file server, or they might attach it to a record in Acumatica. The Questionnaire Designer allows us to make a digital representation of this form, break it into components, and then store those components as data in the database. So let's take a look at the layout of this form. The form has a document header that displays the company logo and in this case, a service order number. It also has a page header with some embedded data. It has the service order number, the description, account name, and status. And this data is displayed only on the first page. It has a body right in the middle of the page that represents a title and then also the list of steps to be performed or questions to be asked. And these steps are broken into, in this case, 3 different tables. We have a site info table, we have a visit info table, and then we have the steps to complete table. Finally, near the bottom, we have a page footer that specifies some technical requirements, and then also a client signature and date. And this information would only display on the very last page of a document. And then at the very bottom, we have footer information that would also be repeated on every page of the document. So now let's return back to the template designer to see how we built this actual questionnaire. I'm going to start with explaining the different components. When you establish or instantiate a new questionnaire, you're going to give it a title and you're going to specify a specific document type. In this case, this inspection report is going to be associated with a service order. These, again, are the different document types. And when you create a new document, it would indicate which document type it's going to be valid for. Now, I'm going to start out and just review the same sections that I did on the actual PDF version, and we'll walk through these sections in the designer. I've got a header section here, and again, this is where we would place the title, and then this is where we're specifying the other data that's going to be extracted from Acumatica and then substituted into these placeholders. So this is using the standard HTML or rich text editor within Acumatica. And you might know that anytime you want to insert a data element, you're able to do that using the insert data field feature. And by clicking on that, you'll notice that these are the different data fields that are available to me and can be embedded inside of this rich text editor. All of these fields, or excuse me, all of these tables or data elements are related to the service order. If we had a different type of document for which we were associating, such as a purchase order, then you would see purchase order information listed here rather than the service order information. So I'm able to utilize that standard Acumatica feature, embed placeholders, and then when the document is actually rendered, the actual data elements for the particular document will be substituted. And you're going to see this later when we look at the actual document output. So again, I've got the header information here. I've got the document header, which is a placeholder for our logo and that service order number that we saw. If I pop over to the footer section or the footer tab, I can see again we've got the footer information that's going to be displayed on the bottom of the last page of the document, and then the footer or the document footer is going to be repeated on every document, or excuse me, every page in the questionnaire. Now I'm going to go to the tab, the steps tab, and this is where we determine and specify our list of questions. So I'm just going to walk across the columns here. The very first column is kind of the unique identifier for each question that's going to be included, or each prompt that will be included in the questionnaire. So as a user, you're going to specify a unique name for each entry or each question. And then you'll notice we've got a group identifier, and we have 3 groups, group 10, 20, and 30. And these represent the tables that I mentioned earlier. So we have a site info group, we have a visit info group, and then we have the collection of questions that we're going to ask, or steps that we want the inspection, the person that's performing the inspection, to complete. And we're able to group those together utilizing this group identifier, and that helps us manage and format the output when we look at the actual document that's rendered. Within a group, you can then specify the sequence or order in which the questions are asked. We have a data type, and we have many different data types that can be specified. I'm going to click on just one of them here and pull up and display the different data types. So we have a standard text box, which is just a single line entry. We have a multi-line edit field. We have a numeric value, checkboxes, radio sets, drop-down lists, and then this header is used to hold the title inside of the table. So that's where site info, visit info, and complete are the formatting changes when we select that data type as the output. In the event that you have, in this case, we have down here some checkboxes or a radio set or a drop-down list. You will need to specify what your different entries are. To do that, we're going to go into the form editing, and then we're able to list those individual values that will be presented to the user in that drop-down list or the combo box, whichever entry that or data type that you might use. You then specify, some of the fields can be required, so it forces the user to answer the question. Here we have the list of the questions themselves. These are the labels or the questions that will be presented to the user as they go through their entry. They are able to add additional comments if the particular question allows. So you'll notice once we get into section number 3 or group 30 here, we're going to allow that user to add additional comments if they would like. We can prompt with a default value. If it's a numeric value, we can set what the decimal places or the precision is going to be. We then have the ability to set some control thresholds in terms of the data that's entered. So in this case, on the PSI pressure, we're looking for a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value 300. So we're able to force the user to enter a value inside of that range. Once a value is populated, we can also do some, or we'll provide visual feedback on the output. So if the value is between 35 and 40, that's 145 that is entered, we're going to see that represented as green as our output. So that's a passing value if it's inside of that range. If it's outside, if it's less than 30 or greater than 150, then we're gonna warn the reader, and we're gonna display that value in red on the output form. The break column is used for formatting. And then finally, we have the ability to copy and paste any questionnaire that we create, because many times organizations have questionnaires that are very similar to each other, but there might be just a couple of entries that are different. And to save and make more efficient the management of these different questionnaires, you're able to duplicate those using the copy paste feature. Now, once we have our template defined, it's ready for use. And I'm going to jump over to a service order, and we're going to utilize this template and create a questionnaire for an HVAC inspection. Now, I already have my service order form open, and I have a service order selected, number 4774. It's just a standard service order form, but you'll notice that we now have a new tab labeled questionnaire. If I click on the questionnaire tab, it's going to show me one or more questionnaires that are associated with this particular document, which is the service order number 4774. And because this was a preventive maintenance inspection service order, I can see that we previously performed a fire control inspection, utilized a fire control template, and populated a questionnaire for the fire control panel. Now, that document has already been generated and associated with the service order. I can tell that by looking at the Files menu tab. And if I click on that, I can open up that tab and see that we do have indeed a PDF file that's already been rendered. And I see the results of the fire control panel inspection. I'll go back to my service order, and now I'm ready to move into and assign that HVAC inspection template that we just built, and I'm going to add that to this particular service order. And to add that, I simply click the Add button, which I've already done, and we generate the questionnaire and associate that questionnaire with this particular service order. So we will associate this questionnaire with this service order, and when we associate that, it copies in all of the steps. It's going to default the page header, page footer information for us, so we don't have to worry about that. But we, as now as the manager of this questionnaire, have the abilities to even edit it at this point. So we're going to copy in the template, but maybe this particular installation, we don't need rows 7, 8, and 9. So we can actually delete those rows and make this a more unique questionnaire just for this particular appointment that is going to be performed. The other thing that we could do is maybe the customer called us and asked us to do something special. So we can add another output, if you will. And maybe it's a special request. They want us to inspect something that we don't normally do. And we're just going to capture that with a multi-line edit and just give it a name here. And then we'll save that. We'll now render that. Now we'll do a new preview. We haven't populated this yet, but we can do a new preview because I have modified, if you will, that questionnaire. So now the questionnaire looks like this. Same information. You'll notice now we have values that have populated. So we've got the actual service order number. We've got the customer's name. We don't have any responses yet. So these response fields are empty, but you'll notice we deleted rows 7, 8, and 9, and then introduced a new row 7 with some special inspection information. Once I get my questionnaire into a state that I'm satisfied with, I can publish that or actually make it available. And we are going to go ahead and populate this by using the entry form. Now, when I click the entry button, it's going to be we're going to be presented with the user interface. And this is the same user interface that a person using a mobile device would see. So these questionnaires, once they've been defined, can be made available out into the field on a mobile device, again, for the supported document types. So I'm going to click entry, and I'm going to start populating my questionnaire. So it's prompting me with the description or the question and the label. Once I provide a value, I simply click next. I've already pre-populated some of the information, so just in the interest of time, I'm going to go a little fast through here. Specify a start time, specify an end time. We've got a store manager. And now I'm entering into the area which we want in this case, the technician to complete. So we want them to record the thermostat type. Here's our drop-down list. And then they're also able to enter any specific details or additional comments. We're going to click next. Did we check the blower and bearings? Yes. Did I check the motor bearings? Yes. Did I check brackets for cracks? Did I check the drain? What is the PSI pressure? Now, again, we're being prompted here because there's a specific range that is allowed. And if I go outside of that range, attempt to accept it, it's going to give me an error message back. So now I'm just going to put a more valid error value into that. It's between 0 to 300, so it's going to allow me. Here's my special inspection. I can just say that checked for or cleaned air filter. All right, so now I've populated this, and now I'm going to do a preview on it. And we have our completed form. So here's the information that I entered. Got our special inspection request, and you'll notice we've got the check the PSI pressure. I put in a value of 200. If we go back and look at our warning, anything outside of this range is going to give us a visual indicator, visual feedback. And since we provided a value of 200, that's outside of our range. So that's going to provide for some automated color coding for us. Now, once we're ready, we're going to click our generate button. And before I do that, you'll notice that our actual column value now has been populated. And these actual values are what the user entered through the entry form. And again, this is stored as data within the Acumatica database. So if you think about it, this questionnaire, it's questionnaire number 36. That's a single record in the Acumatica database, and that record has the questions and the responses associated with it. So you're able to use tools like generic inquiry or any report writing tool that's compatible with Acumatica to format and utilize your result into any type of format or any type of report format you would like on an ad hoc basis. So again, we're getting ready to finalize this report. We're going to click the generate button. That's going to generate the final version of the document for us. It's going to render that output for us. It's going to create the file. And once the file has been generated, I'm going to close my questionnaire form. And again, you'll notice that we've got one file associated with the service order, but if I do a form refresh, we now have two files. If I open the file viewer, I see that we have our original control panel file, and we now have an inspection file, HVAC inspection that's unique to service order 4774. And again, I can open that up. I can then, again, use the e-sign features of Acumatica. I can associate or utilize DocuSign or Adobe Sign, drop in the placeholders for signature and date, and then I can utilize the email functionality within Acumatica to forward this off to the customer and then ultimately receive back that executed copy. So that concludes this portion of the video. That concludes our presentation for today. If you are interested in pricing and licensing options, or if you have a specific question about the Questionnaire Designer, you can contact us by sending an email to success@singlesrc.com. Thank you again for your interest in the Questionnaire Design module of the Single Source Productivity Tools.